Okay. Have you done her macro test? If not, I'm an FTO, so I can do that. That's fine. If you will, just send it to Miss Lamar. That's fine. I believe she's on right now. Did you do her PD tour already? All right. Did you explain what each macro was? I can go. Yeah. If your body cam's rolling, I'll go ahead and do that real quick. All right, Miss Riley. So first, I'm going to throw up my introductory macro. I met you earlier, but my name is Lieutenant Estrellas with the Madera Police Department, badge number 589. I'm a field training officer and lieutenant for the Madera Police Department. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and explain all of the macros to you so you have a better understanding on how to use them, okay?
Hey, Memphis, where are you at?
I'm ready.
All right. So this macro is your pullover macro. Your pullover macro is utilized when you're in a vehicle about to perform a traffic stop and you read it out. Anything you have in green, it is always read out. Taser, taser, taser is an action macro, and it's an indication that you are about to tase an individual. Always throw up your taser macro before you tase. Taser, taser, taser breaks window and tasers civilian and pulls them out of vehicle is the macro you use whenever you are tasing an individual that is inside their vehicle. Always throw your macro up before you tase. Slash do shoots at armed suspects and vehicle to protect civilians and fellow officers and self. That's your self-defense macro. You use that when you are shooting your pistol or your rifle at other individuals or their vehicles to protect yourself or other officers. This is your introductory macro. You always throw up your introductory macro whenever you're arriving on scene and dealing with an individual. This is your Miranda warning macro. Like I said, with it being in green, you have to read it out. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and do can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand your rights? You read this before any questioning is done or before or after you make an arrest. Slash do pats down female suspect with back of hand is for males. Yours will say pats down suspect. This is your pat down macro to ensure that you pat down a suspect and remove all items from them. Pats down suspect and removes all items and weapons from person. That's another macro. Yours will say pats down male suspect with back of hand. You're being arrested for. This is another one that you read out. You throw this up after you've pat down your suspect. Active ride along, which is a 1012, is a macro you throw up before you leave the PD garage when you're on a ride along or you go solo. Right now, with you being unbadged, you are to ride with a vested or higher. Code 4, seeing clear. Yours will just say code 4, seeing clear. I just added show 589 back in service for my convenience. But this is the macro you throw up when the scene is clear and you're leaving. Code 3, lights and sirens. This is the macro you throw up when you are responding to a call of high priority where you will use your lights and sirens. 10-4 copies is just your macro you use when you're letting dispatch or another officer know that you're en route, you understand, or you copy. 10-6 currently busy is the macro that you use whenever you're leaving PD, not on official PD business. Whenever you come back to PD, you are to go back in service. 10.7 is basically your punch out or clock out macro. You'll put out of service and you'll be free to do whatever you want to outside of PD. 10.8 in service is the macro you use whenever you come back to PD after either being 10.6, which is busy, or 10.7 being out of service, or when you log on to clock in. 10.10 fight in progress. Whenever you see a physical fight going on and you need assistance, or you want to let another officer know that there's a fight in your location, then you throw up your 10.10 fight macro. 10.11 traffic stop. Traffic stop macro is the one you use when you're initiating a traffic stop, and it will be preceded by location to let officers know that you are on a traffic stop. 10.13 is shots fired. That's the macro you use when shots are being fired at you or in your general location to let officers know that there is gunshots being fired. 10.15 suspects in custody en route to PD is the macro you use to let dispatch and other officers know that you're coming from a certain location with a suspect. 10.20 location is the macro you'll use whenever you are requesting a location from another officer. 10.22 disregard is a macro you use whenever you want to disregard the last macro you've used. 10.23 on scene is another macro you throw up to let officers know that you're on scene or have arrived. 10.26 suspect detained. You only use this macro when you are detaining a suspect. You can use this when you detain a suspect, but remember, whenever you arrest a suspect, you will have to throw up your macros of your introduction, the Miranda rights, and stuff like that. 10.27 and 10.29 is your ID and warrant check. You will do that after you receive the name of the individual that you are on a traffic stop with. Dispatch will respond with name. You give them their name, and then they will respond to your 10.27, 10.29 with either clear or wanted. 10.30 is wanted. That'll be a response that you get from another officer or dispatch to let you know the individual you're working with is wanted. 10.32 backup needed is the macro you use whenever you're requesting backup. Dispatch will relay that to another officer in the area or all officers and send backup to your specified location. 10.41, which is requesting inmate transportation. Majority of the time, you will use this macro if your patrol vehicle has despawned or if there's more than one inmate that needs to be requested for pickup. 10.47 shootout in progress is a lot different than shots fired. Shots fired can be at anything, whether it be the ground, the air, another person. 10.47 is an actual shootout. 10.57 is a hit and run. That can be with a pedestrian or another vehicle, and that's you use this macro when you're letting other officers and dispatch know that you have witnessed a hit and run, and you give the vehicle description or the person description. 10.60 armed suspects. This is what you use for people who have not, or individuals who have not fired a shot but do have their weapons out. You're relaying the information to other officers that the individuals you have in front of you are armed. 10.80 in pursuit means you are actively pursuing the vehicle in front of you that you have tried to put on a traffic stop or that has caused a danger to the public and you are chasing after them. 10.97 en route is a confirmation macro that you use whenever you're letting another officer or dispatch know that you're en route to that specified location. 10-100, officer down, is the macro you throw when you have been shot or another officer is down, right before you die or another officer has died, to let officers know that the situation is critical. 3237, supervisor needed, is exactly what it means. You throw up this macro when you need a supervisor or the individual that you're working with needs a supervisor. A supervisor can be requested at any time if there's one online. Step out of the vehicle with your hands up. Don't run or reach for anything, or force may be used. Again, with it being in green, this is a macro that you read out. It means exactly what it says. You tell the individual to step out of the vehicle, and this is primarily used on a PD2 style traffic stop. You have warrants for your arrest, no sudden movements. This is for an individual who is wanted and has warrants. This can be done either on a PD2 style traffic stop, which is a hostile traffic stop, or when you do wanted missions. Put the weapon away now or force will be used. Again, with it being in green, this is something that you'll read out. It's letting the individual know that you've put the macro up, you see the weapon, you're telling them to put the weapon away or you will use force. Stop fist fighting, stop now, or you will be charged with the 3.2 and 3.5. This is the Madera PD. This macro, again, with it being in green, you'll read it out. Let the individuals know that fist fighting is not allowed. If they do not stop, you can place them under arrest for 3.2 and 3.5. First and final warning, leave the area now or be charged with a 1.7 and 3.2. You have 10 seconds to comply or force will be used. This is another warning macro. This is the one macro that you put up in a green zone when individuals will not leave or are not listening. When you do this and you throw up this macro, do not wait. Start your 10-second countdown. Your 10-second countdown is going to be generalized in the chat looking like this. You do not have to include 0 because obviously 1 to 10 is 10 seconds. 0 is kind of a discretion, but after you give the countdown, if you're able to, you can throw up your taser macro, tase the individual if needed, and handcuff them. If they are in a state where you can handcuff without tasing, that is also a great thing. It ensures you're not using force where force isn't needed. Copy, stand by. /do, hand citation for civilian to sign is the macro you'll use when you're handing over a citation. Anytime you're handing over a citation, it's 99.9% of the time going to be on a PD1 traffic stop. So just a generalized traffic stop. You hand it over, and then you have them do /do and signs. You always ask if they know how to do it. If not, tell them. You type in the chat /do signs. And then I had a little mix up on my macros, so mine's all the way down at the end. But anytime that you're on a 10-12, before you leave PD, make sure your body cam is on, and it's going to be confirms body cam is on and 10-12 on a solo or joint ride along. All right, do you have any questions?
No, I think I got most of it.
All right, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm one of the individuals you can always turn to come and help. Not saying no one else isn't, but I try to make time for anybody who needs it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go ahead and add you as a friend real quick. That way, if you do have any questions and I'm not around, feel free to message me and let me know. I'm available any time of day for any reason at all, personal or professional.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. All right. I'm on my way to PDG.